11:30 p.m. April 14th, 2025. Again, 11:30 p.m. April 14th, 2025. Been in the shed half mile north of Fairbank all day. Have not opened the doors even today on April 14th, 2025. Been in my F-350. I've lived in my F-350 all of 2025. I've not lived in a camper. I've not moved into a home yet. I've been living in my F-350, and I've slept not slept anywhere but half mile north of Fairbank, Iowa, any day, any night in 2025. Some of those few nights I slept over at my parents', which is still half mile north of Fairbank. It's just on gravel at the Red and White Barn home in my F-350. But no other place have I slept in 2025 other than half mile north of Fairbank. Anybody claims so, it's criminal staging lies. Anybody claimed I've been on a date or a romance in the United States in the last 10 years is lying. I would never be with a male. I've already said this many times. It was indicated again. There was some gay stuff going on. And if they're using surveillance to say I'm talking to someone, it's again me talking to a cat like people talk to their dog pet, their dog or cat pet. That's what I talk to him like. I call him, his name's Lucky. I call him good boy. You're a good buddy. You're my friend, or whatever I was saying to him. They respond to people talking to them. They have an emotional intelligence, I think, probably better than a lot of people sometimes. You can see them responding to it. If you laugh at a cat, especially this one, he knows you're laughing at him. So he gets his feeling. It hurts his feelings. You can see it. And only people that have pets that talk to their pets understand what I'm talking about. But that's who I'm talking to. I'm not talking to a person. So it's a pathetic jackass gay guy, apparently, that claims I'm calling him good boy and stuff, or buddy. It's sick. It's sick. I don't know who it is. If it's, someone in their 20s, which was indicated, or a teen, which is, very uncomfortable for me to have to deal with indications about me having connections to a minor or child. I'm not interested in children sexually or romantically. And I stay away from children since about 2016 when this started being indications. I go out of my way to avoid kids because it's such a pain for me to try and anytime anything gets indicated, I have to undo those lies. And if someone shows me talking to a kid that they portrayed that I had some connection to, then that makes it much worse. Then it looks like I actually had a connection to him. And I think they've sent, kids up to me before to make it look like I had a connection to him, which I absolutely haven't. Since 2016, my ex's, son, who was, I don't remember how old he was at the time, but 2016 is the last time I talked to him, because he'd come over to my parents and he was getting incentivized with video games somehow. I think it was through his father, who was in the military, a bugle player, a trumpet player, was incentivizing him to do that. I never even met his father, so his mother told me how bad his father was, so I never had any respect for him, so I never met him. But I don't have any connection to any minor. No, I don't try to meet them. I never tried to chat with them. I've been posting more about my physics, and I tried to record this once already, so this is the second time through, and I screwed up on dark energy and dark matter. I said dark energy when I meant dark matter again. So I posted a few times, and I think I left one of my posts up a long time ago that I accidentally said the wrong word. But again, recently I posted, I added some more posts about, there's a video that was good evidence for my theory from 2015, that part of my theory of the universe from 2015 is that all planets with iron cores are burned out cores of stars, are the burned out cores, or they're the cooled cores. They've already cooled of burned out stars after they've cooled down. And this video explained that there was the temperatures of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, etc., were higher than could be explained by solar heating, which means by our sun collectively heating them on a daily basis. It can't explain how hot they are. So that is additional proof for my theory that planets are burned out stars. And there's also some information in that video that there's like a ball of molten stuff floating around in Saturn, which would be consistent with a star cooling down after it burned out. That center is very hot, like it would be in Jupiter, but surface of Jupiter is a lot cooler, but the center could obviously be a lot hotter anyway. But that's just additional information. I wrote that my theory that light waves erode into non-momentum photons with mass against the scientific assumption that photons don't have mass, because you have to explain the loss of mass at the origin of the photon and the gain of mass at the end of the photon. You don't have to do that if it is traveling through an ether composed of no momentum photons, because it's just transferring the momentum energy from one photon to the next as part of a wave. And that's why it spreads out in our atmosphere as well, because as you get closer to the center of mass, Earth, the photons are more packed in. So they get spread out more because they're more packed in. They're hitting more of the no momentum photons, and that causes the light waves to spread out more as they come into our atmosphere. So those are the two main things I've added. I think I added one other thing since I summarized it in one of my recent videos, summarized my recent posts. Those are my physics theories. Anybody else that claims anything close to them, they're not involved in my theories. I'm not writing speeches for anybody. Nobody's writing speeches for me. I'm coming up with all of this as my videos and my audios are summations of things I've written on X already, x.com/WADES2ND. I posted on there first, and then I cut and paste it and put it in the description of my YouTube videos. And that's why I'm always referring to my description of my YouTube videos, that the descriptions contain all my X posts links in there, so you see what I'm posting on X. I've also been posting some things about trying to stay out of the war or stop. That it's a very bad thing, I believe, for the U.S. I know it's a very bad thing for the USA to hit Iran with an attack. It's just going to make everybody angry in the Middle East. It's not going to serve any purpose for the USA. That going forward, we can, that is a good situation for us. We need to, train our own military here, get our defenses built up for the USA, and not stop trying to expand our control over the world, which does not work. And these leftovers from, the former administrations a long time ago, they're just holding on to things the only things that they know how to do, and they don't work. And we have to, bolster our defenses, train our militaries well, and make peace with countries that are stable. Iran is a stable country. The only country that benefits from destabilizing Iran is Israel. And we can no longer have them doing our international protocol for what we do with our military. They don't get to do that anymore. They've been doing it too long. It's just wrecked our credibility throughout the world, and Benjamin Netanyahu is reprehensible. So we need to get his influence and IDF's influence out of the United States for good. And if anybody is taking Israel as number one above the United States' interests, they need to be fired immediately. They cannot be getting us into a war in the Middle East that unleashes a bunch of anger that is not necessary and is really wrong, just to destabilize and anger a bunch of countries that we don't benefit from angering. We should make peace with a country that is trying. They don't want. Iran's made it clear they don't want to create a nuclear weapon many times. And there are very smart people that understand that have been around forever in intelligence. And I cited a couple of them, and I just posted about 4 of them. It would be an amazing meeting, if you're in a situation of making those decisions, to have a meeting with 4 of the guys that I mentioned. Mearsheimer, Scott Ritter, these are people that I don't know a lot of history, but I watched a few videos of recently, and I'm intelligent enough to figure out who is propagandizing and who is not. And obviously, if they're really good propagandists and then they go into a closed meeting and they change their strategy, then they're very good deceivers. But they're all for staying out of war with Iran, which is never going to be good for the United States. It's what do we gain from that? We need to figure out our strategy as far as what we're going to manufacture, strategic manufacturing, things that we don't benefit greatly from manufacturing. We should have other countries manufacture, whatever countries we find that are good and want to do that. Things that are important for us to manufacture, we should quickly get our credible companies, ones that have proven themselves, into position that they can do those things quickly, and if they can only do it with a lot of robotics and whatever, just let them do it that way, because that's the way it's going to go wherever we end up getting our manufacturing from. That's going to be what it's going to be. It doesn't make any sense to turn the wheels back on manufacturing. I just get a little upset when these manufacturers don't really care about their employees at all. And I criticized one the other day for talking about how much love he has for CNC machines and barely mentioned and kind of dismissed the people that actually run the CNC machines. It's a little off-putting when the guy's trying to inspire the nation by saying these factories with CNC machines only are the greatest things, and then kind of dismisses his employees that run them. That's it's the way manufacturing is going to be done is automation and robotics, and that's just reality. But it makes sense to implement humans where there's not a huge cost and where you can improve quality, you can lessen mistakes necessarily with, more humans, a few more humans here and there in manufacturing. Some things you can't turn back the clock on, and that's manufacturing. But if we can compete with other countries by manufacturing the things that we need to make here, strategic things, I think that's a good thing. We can't we're not going to if we manufacture everything, it's not going to be financially beneficial. It doesn't mean that the only things that I mentioned are the only things we should manufacture, but the reason that I mentioned the ones that I mentioned, they have something to do with national security. And I could have put food in there. I don't want any of our food to go to another country to process and then be shipped back here with a bunch of chlorine or whatever the hell they try to put in it. I don't want any of our food to go to another country. If we're importing it, okay, but let's have it inspected and find out what's in it and such like that. But I'm just going on and on here, so I'm going to cut this off. But I think it's essential for the security of the United States, in our nation's best interest, to stay out of a war with, or attack Iran or a war with Iran. I think we need to respect that they've tried to be a stable country. They've never expressed that they want to produce nuclear weapons. You have leftover people from prior administrations that are affected by Israel's priorities under Netanyahu, which I think, again, is reprehensible. It has nothing to do with all of Jews. I know all of Jews don't support Netanyahu, especially in the United States. So it's not that I'm anti-Jewish. It is that I am anti-people trying to use their influence to get many people killed and to try to control people like me. I don't want them in our country influencing. I don't want Netanyahu and his people, those people that he are like him, that are okay with torturing and killing to get their meat and to get their ends met. And I don't want any of those type of people influencing the USA's internal decisions, and that's why I stated the things I have regarding Israel and the IDF. They can stay in Israel. IDF could stay in Israel, and Netanyahu could stay in Israel. And we don't need to fight their wars for them. That puts us in a bad position, a weaker position, and essentially, I think, against Iran, a much more precarious position. Why would we do that? Why would we go over there and upset a very stable country? It makes no sense. And I don't think it even makes sense for Israel, but I don't want to get involved in their national policy. I don't respect what Netanyahu did to a bunch of people. I don't think it was necessary to do what he did. I think it was pre-planned, and that's my opinion. And it has nothing to do with our national security. I think our national security is threatened by attacking Iran. That's what I'm concerned about, is our national security and the interest of the United States citizens. And I think we should stabilize our relations with all those countries, Russia, China, Iran, Israel, if we can. I don't think we can with Netanyahu in there. But and all countries. I think we should stabilize our relations with all countries, unless it's not possible. I think you have to be a strong person. You have to know what you can talk to about it with other countries. You have to get people in there that are smart enough, and there's a couple that aren't smart enough to talk to other countries, and they're only influenced by Israel, that need to be fired, I believe. But that's my opinion. And I rarely speak about politics since the last few years, because I'm so busy defending myself and my life, but I think it's important that we do not attack Iran. I think it just puts us in a really bad position when we need to be focusing internally on getting our economy going the right direction, stabilized. The people of the U.S. need to focus on things that are important. If we want to have, we are not in the same position as other countries. We are a different country. We are not the United States of the 1980s. We have to move forward with what we have now. I think it makes sense to have a balanced, manufacturing and service industry. I think if you just have service and you farm out all your manufacturing, it hollows out your country. And I think it's good that we have. I think it's good that we have a president that wants to have a balance of manufacturing and other things here, but I think it makes sense to target strategic manufacturing, some things that are important for us to produce here for the quality and for national security, for citizen security, because we don't know exactly what's going on inside a cell phone. It's important for it to be made in the United States of America by American companies, so at least we know we have the national security that way. That's my reasoning on that. There are other things that we could produce here, things that are, not, that are less complicated to manufacture, that it makes sense to manufacture here. And maybe there's ways we can get our companies to produce things here that otherwise we would not be able to compete with countries like China or other countries like China, Taiwan, Vietnam, any country. I don't know, Malaysia, Indonesia is one that's coming on too, or Eastern Bloc European countries. We're not going to be able to compete with every country, and we should want to trade with other countries. But it doesn't make sense for us to try to produce everything because we don't have the workforce in manufacturing to do that. But to grow our manufacturing, I think makes sense to have a more balanced economy. That's way long on that. I don't really like to go into politics anymore, but thought it was important on the Iran thing. Very important. And the manufacturing, it's just, if we're going to do it, then let's do it quickly with companies that are proven, that want to do it, that want to go forward and make targeted or manufacturing, or what did I say before? Strategic manufacturing, things that we should make in the United States. Let's do it right, do it quickly, help them get started and jumpstart that part of it. Because you only have so much time to get it started. Once you get it started, you can keep it going a little easier. Once those companies get started and get rolling, they can keep going a little easier. That's my thought process on that. And if you don't get it started quickly, it'll get mired down. Nothing will get done, and the policies you implemented in the first place to try to get them started will never work. But I think we should still have good relations with China and try to have a good trade relationship with them. And that'll take a lot of work to figure out what the best way that's going to work with other countries, and hopefully we can work it out with them that way. But it doesn't make sense to create too much for the people of China. We don't want the people of China to hate us, because then that leads to war. There's no reason for it other than for affluent people to gain more money by, making enemies of people that aren't our enemies necessarily. You always have to watch out for other countries. Don't trust them, militarily, but that's for the military to keep an eye on. And also, it's for everyone to keep an eye on, but it's also, if they're not our enemies, don't make them enemies. If they're not horrific, if they're just doing their own thing in their own country. All right. It's April 14th, getting close to midnight, 11:56 p.m., signing off. Wade Allen Heineman, never been in the military, never been married, 53 years old, never had a tattoo in my entire life, always lived in Iowa, not been on a plane or jet since 2011, never been into drugs, not any alcohol in 2.5 years, 10.7-inch hands, 6'1", green eyes, not blue. All my physics theories are mine and mine alone. All my poems, blogs, inventions, guitar compositions, which I haven't played guitar in 2-3 weeks now at all, maybe 4 weeks, because I only have 2 strings left on guitars that I have here, and I haven't found my sets of strings to restring them. So I've been doing some singing. Again, I sing Greg Brown or Waylon Jennings, Frank Sinatra, Elvis, Tom Waits, manly things, George Strait, on and on like that. Manly things, and I've never sung a duet with anybody. If that's been indicated, no, it's not a duet with anybody. Signing off. 10.7-inch hands, 6'1", white male, heterosexual, graduated Wapsie Valley High School in 1990. And I only say these things just to prove who I am, because there's frauds out there pretending. Never been to Florida in my entire life. My phone on and off. X location shows Florida. Tampa, Florida. Never been to Florida. Never known anybody from there.